hello everyone. My name is Antoine. I am leading the partner program here at Katalon, and welcome to the session today. If you attend the annual Global Partner Summit, so you're probably familiar with the session. For those who don't, so in the summit which we've done a couple of weeks ago, we introduced a lot of the new features and new products that we have here at Katalon. Many of which will probably haven't done a great job at making it available and loud and clear for partners and end customer. So in the effort of making change to that, we organized a session where we talk a bit more in detail about the latest AI features Katalon, as well as product called Truetest. And most importantly, how does it add value to end user and speeding up the testing process? So with me today, I have Alex Martin, our VP of Strategy, and Lee Wash, our Lead Solution Engineer. They both will speak more about this topic, go a little bit in depth, kind of end-to-end flow of how the AI feature in Katalon would work and add value. So let's start with you, Alex Martin. Can you introduce a bit about yourself?
Sure. Hey everyone, I'm Alex, and I'm really excited to be here with you guys today to walk you through this next wave of AI-driven quality transformation. We're gonna talk about our vision, as a company and as building our products, and then we're gonna dive into a demonstration of how that entire platform works together, and obviously underpinned by AI. So it's going to be a lot of cool and innovative use cases, and I hope to make this very interactive with everyone.
Awesome, awesome. Lee Wash, do you mind just a quick blur by yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. As it says here, Lee Walsh, Lead Solutions Engineer at Katalon. So my main roles and responsibilities is working closely with several of our enterprise customers to help their training, onboarding, troubleshooting, and happy to help with sessions like this and walk through the technical features in the second half of the call.
Absolutely. And on the call, we also have F and Kitika, who are the Partner Alliance Manager for the AMER and Europe regions. So if you have throughout the whole entire webinar, there'll be a lot of featurings, a lot of new thing that you might have questions. So should you want to talk more about, hey, how does that work in this project, or you want to access to Truetest, or you want certain things. So Partner Alliance Manager or go-to contact. You can always rely on them for further informations or a more in-depth session like this for your team. Just FYI, with that, I think I'll wrap up the housekeeping items and let's get started. Alex, I'll hand it over to you.
All right, thank you, Antoine. All right, guys. So we are really excited to share with you our vision, our strategy, and also our approach to that is actually driving our portfolio. So I want to start by giving everybody the context, or bringing everybody into the context of why is it that we are building the things that we're building. What we're learning from the market, from our customers, from partners like you guys, is there's a lot of acceleration on the development side, on the production and observability side because of AI. There's a lot of AI being applied to the SDLC, and then from a testing perspective, it's kind of all over the place, right? And one thing is clear: doing testing in the traditional way, it's not going to be fast enough for all of that AI that surrounds, testing. So what we have been doing is by putting together the Katalon platform, is by introducing a lot of AI agents to accelerate the different activities in the testing lifecycle, so that we can finally keep up with all the other activities from planning, from development, from production and operations, and so on. And the way we've been doing that is by intentionally looking at how requirements are analyzed by the quality engineering team, how they use that information to build or to do the planning for the testing, to build the actual tests, to set up environments and prepare data, to execute the tests, and then report on those execution results in reports on the overall health of the release. Um, So that's the kind of the traditional left to right approach to testing, and accelerating that even further with different AI agents in the Katalon platform. But we're not stopping there. If we think about quality in a holistic way, we also need to keep looking or keep assessing quality as that code gets into production, into the hands of the users. And that's where we continue monitoring quality from a user perspective by understanding what are the user journeys that real users are actually going through, learning what matters to them, what they use the most, what they don't really use in terms of features in production, and then bringing that knowledge back into the requirements phase so that the product owners, the business analysts can take that into consideration as they plan the next sprint or the next release. And then from a testing perspective, you can, the testing team can actually understand if they are testing in QA all of the user journeys that are important to users in production. And in most cases, what our customers have been finding is that the way they have been testing the application is different than the way that um, the users are actually using the application in production. So helping expose those gaps in terms of coverage from a user perspective is something that we feel is very key and tremendously valuable. And then, more importantly, once you understand the gaps, bridging the gaps, so giving the testing team fully automated tests that cover those scenarios from users in production instantaneously without any effort in creating those automated tests is something that the platform is able to do now. Um, and if we look at that platform and how it's structured, you have the existing products from Katalon that you're familiar with. So Test Ops, Truetest, Studio, the Runtime Engine, and Test Cloud. I'm not going to go into details because you're our partners. You already know what they do. But one thing that we're building on top of that is the agentic layer. So having those different specialized agents working directly with our products that are all MCP enabled, by the way, now, right? So they all have MCP servers that our AI agents can interact with in order to get activities or get tasks accomplished. So if you think from a studio perspective, having Studio Assist now, the latest version has an agent mode that is not just giving you information, it's not just helping you understand things, it's actually taking action on Studio, building scripts, adjusting or updating scripts, analyzing errors and fixing errors, fixing the code for you, acting like a real co-pilot of AI coding assistant rather, inside of Studio. But it doesn't stop there, right? Because now Studio is MCP enabled. You can get the Studio Assist agent to go into Jira, for example, which is also MCP enabled, and then pull information from Jira, pull user stories, analyze those user stories, create tasks, right? Check coverage, and so on and so forth. At the same time, you have the ability to, if you're using Claude, the latest version of Claude, or if you're using Copilot on VS Code or whatever other AI coding agent that you can, from them, you can interact with Studio and get Studio to do, create tasks, run tests, and so on and so forth. Everything is MCP enabled. So uh, this is where the platform is bringing that agentic layer for different activities. We have our own agents on top of that, but you can also use other agents from outside in order to get tasks accomplished inside of our products. So this is kind of the architecture, so you understand. And where you apply those different capabilities is, when we've been finding this work by working with you guys as our partners, is the key use cases where Catalan has been proven and has been showing value the most to you and your clients is when customers or when the companies are trying to move from manual testing to automated testing as fast as possible, right? So it's not just about having a low code test automation solution anymore. It's now, how can AI help in that low code mode? How can AI help me move from manual testing to automated testing much faster? Because now AI and the different AI agents are helping you do the work. So that's the first, key use case for you to keep in mind. The second one is really having now with AI, having that supercharged low code platform where it's not only anymore about record and playback and then leverage a centralized object repository and reusable keywords and all that, but you are the one creating all that. Now it's about having AI and the AI agents inside of the platform to do all that for you, and then you are more directing and guiding those agents to get the work done in, again, low code, no code framework. So the acceleration you already got before AI, now with AI you can accelerate even further, and we're going to show some of that today as well. And the third use case that is key for you is that Katalon is super affordable comparing to the major players out there. Katalon is extremely affordable based on everything that we're bringing to the table inside of the platform, all those different capabilities. We're really focusing on adding value in an affordable way so that you can maximize that value and obviously add your efficiencies on top of that in a much more natural way from your point of view. So just think about those top three use cases as we move through the session today. And I'm sure you're gonna find many other use cases, but I would advise you to keep in mind those three. Those are top of mind and are proven use cases where we have proven successful delivery of value across our partner ecosystem. And one last thing, if you hadn't seen this before, we are extremely proud that Gartner has put Katalon in the visionary quadrant for the first Magic Quadrant for AI-augmented software testing tools. This was just released last month, and so November. So we are the only ones rated as visionaries, as you can see there in the lower right quadrant. So this vision of the platform, the capabilities we're building, those are all things that Gartner sees as extremely visionary. And put us that in that category, and we're extremely proud of that. And that what that means to you and your clients is that this is a reassurance that Katalon is built for now, but also uh, future proofing the investment for your clients with that vision that is continuing to evolve along with the market. All right, so demo time. We promise we're going to be showing a lot of things, and Lee here is going to take us through all that, all those exciting features, and so keep always those use cases in mind. And feel free to drop your questions there in the Q&A panel or the chat. Doesn't matter, and we'll take those as we go through the session, or we'll do that at the end. But please, let's try to make it interactive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Let me share my screen and we can get started with the technical demonstration. Just on the Katalon side, let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yes.
Cool. So as Alex mentioned, as we walk through today's demonstration, we will firstly showcase how we can analyze requirements and create test cases with the help of our planning agent. Once we have demonstrated this, we will look at different options available to us to turn the test cases, which will be manual test cases at that time, into automated test cases. This can involve Truetest, Test Ops, Katalon Studio, and Studio Assist found within Katalon Studio. Then once we've created automated test cases through any of the mentioned offerings, we will look at Studio Assist agent mode, which Alex mentions. Then at that point, we will fast forward to the execution piece. And as you have executed many test cases over time, we will look at our advanced reporting capabilities, which leverage, as the name would suggest, our reporting agent. Cool. So let's jump into the first piece then. I will be demonstrating the application that we will be testing today. If anyone has sat in on any of my calls, will know it's a Orange HRM application. So you have the ability to clock in, clock out for work, or punch in, punch out, book holidays or book leave. and search for employees. So as we show a whole host of different features, I just want to make sure that the application itself doesn't cause any confusion. As we want to start from requirements, in most cases, it will be the likes of Jira or ADO that we want to pull our requirements from. Okay, so I have a whole host of different user stories, as we can see here. All of these user stories, if I jump into any particular one, let's go in here. We have a description against it. We have acceptance criteria. We might have subtasks linked. We might have files attached. But I want to integrate and pull all of this information into test ops, which is possible through all of the different integrations that we see here. And once I have integrated with test ops, I have the ability to review any of those user stories that we saw earlier in my plans section of test ops. Okay, so we're currently looking at test ops right now, and we have a whole host of different user stories that has come through from our Jira integration. And you can see the same requirements and acceptance criteria against this user story as what we saw in Jira. At this point in time, I have the ability to manually create test cases. But as we want to look at some AI powered features, we also have the ability to generate test cases through that planning agent that we mentioned. The first thing that we'll notice when I go and click generate test cases is it will analyze those requirements for me. And it is flagging anything that is unclear or incomplete with me. So looking for additional context. At this point, we can start to add that additional context. We can then generate again and see if there's any additional questions. But this is the analysis piece, first of all. And what we tend to see, or what I've certainly seen with some of our customers, is these types of questions here, if we're not using something like the planning agent that we see here, this could be assumptions that our testing team are making. And these assumptions don't turn into questions, but they can lead to inaccurate test cases. So for example, we have X number of shifts applied to a certain day, or we use a 12-hour format rather than a 24-hour format. All of these different, which seem like small items, can lead to inaccurate test cases, which can lead to those bugs in production. So this is very similar to a safety net here. Once we've provided this additional context, I can then go ahead and generate. And what you'll notice, this will take 20, 30 seconds, hopefully. What you'll notice is the level of detail that we have in these test cases. It could take you 15 to 30 minutes to create one single test case. In this example, we should generate a handful of test cases based off of the requirements and acceptance criteria. And once we've done that, we'll see the time savings. So as I was speaking there, we have already generated 10 test cases. At this point in time, I can click into any of these test cases, check the description, validate the precondition, add in any test data if I want to, or update the steps. And if I start updating information here, I have the ability to regenerate again. Okay, so it might not be done first time. We might have to do this a few times to get where we want to, but this can certainly accelerate that process and at least get us 70, 80% of the way there. And the remaining is just slight tweaks that we need to make, but you can still see in the space of me sharing my screen, we have taken requirements, turned them into test cases. We can make our changes. And at that point in time, we can go and save all of these test cases or individual test cases as we please. Okay. I will now discard these because I do have other examples to show you guys. But if I discard these test cases, if we go into our test cases folder, you will notice any of the test cases that I've created from requirements through the planning agent is now sitting here in my Katalon cloud. They are all manual test cases, as I mentioned. So we'll look at turning these into automated test cases now. But before we do that, we will notice that we have an automation status. Okay. This, for many, will start off as manual test cases that we want to verify over time. And over time, we start to realize, yes, we want to automate this. If I jump into one of these folders here, I'm sure I've done this. We have some automation candidates here. In our reporting that we'll see later, I can look at our live monitor, and that will give me an idea of what test cases have the automation candidate status tied to them and who are they assigned to. And I can start to work off of this. So We'll look at this in more detail later on in the demonstration, but this can be used for stand-ups and a great way for us to track how we're doing against test cases that should be automated. And as Alex mentioned, we'll be able to get all of this information in Katalon Studio through Studio Assist, its agent mode, and the MCP server integrations that we have. I'll pause there, Alex, if there's anything you want to add, or if there's any questions in the chat box that we need to answer now. If not, we'll continue on.
No, I think we're good, Lee. We can continue yeah, we can continue.
Cool. Okay, so as I mentioned, we were going to firstly, if I come back to our slide deck, we were going to firstly look at the requirements analysis piece. We have looked at that now through the planning agent. And now we want to start looking at turning those test cases into automated test cases. There's a few different options available to us. If I come out of here, the first is if I jump back into test ops, I can go into executions and I can create a manual test run. Okay. We can call it Lee submit. Let's go submit timesheet. Let's select a manual test case. Okay. Manual test case. We can select the environment that we're executing on. And now in later versions, if I go and click run now, we have the ability to enable test pack, which is installing an extension, which will then track the interactions that we make here and allow us to turn this into an automated test case. Okay, so similar to what we will see with Truetest later, when we can track user interactions and create test cases from those user flows or interactions, we now have the ability to also do this through test ops. So this is requirements to manual test cases, to executing the manual test cases, to then turning them into automated test cases that we will see are very similar, if not identical, to what you would be more used to in Katalon Studio and so on. Okay. We won't show you that process. There's a lot to cover today. But if I was to continue without the recording piece, I could manually just execute my test case, which would be filling in this information, fill in whatever I need to, add any comments, upload screenshots. Maybe we come across an issue. I could report a defect. But when we're looking at this from a manual testing perspective, we're more interested in getting all of our results in one location that we can report on later on. Okay. You can see here, if I jump into one of these here, this was a manual test case. I could automate this if I wanted to. Okay. Or I could just quite simply go and look at the results, see there was a screenshot added, check the messaging, and so on. Okay. That's one way we can go about it, which is through test pack. Okay. But at this point, I also want to show you that we can feed in from Truetest. So in this slide here, we're seeing that it's coming from production. I do want to call out that we can use Truetest in staging environments as well. It's not just production, as that slide would show. But for anyone that's familiar with Truetest, if I go in and inspect a page, we can add a code snippet to my application that is going to track user interactions. And some of the use cases, and Alex, you can speak more to this as well, but some of the use cases that we would see here is potentially automating off the back of development work. So as our developers start to test out new features in a lower environment that they're building out new features against, we can automate off of that. So automating those journeys quicker than ever. We can automate off the back of end user interactions that we would see in production. Okay. And that would allow us to compare and contrast between what we have in our regression suite, so what we expect to see versus what is actually happening on our application. And as you saw with test pack there, this could also be manual testers on our team interacting with the application within test ops as well. There is some other use cases. They're kind of the main ones. Alex, anything you want to add around those use cases before we jump into Truetest itself?
No, I think those are the main two. So having the ability to take activity, right, from people, from testing professionals, doing their testing in the QA environment, and then taking those activities, turning those into automated tests. Or the other use case is production, understanding how the users in production are navigating through the different flows, and then seeing that, and then automating those same flows so that you can run those in your release cycle. I think those are the two key components of that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and for the production side, we're removing the guesswork. So we we have a good idea of how our application should be used, but when it gets to production and our end users are actually starting to use that application, there may be some user flows that we didn't consider that we start to notice in the journey map that we see here. Okay. So what we're looking at right now is just one of the journey maps. So the interactions that occurred during this time period for the application that we have Truetest plugged into. Okay. On the journey map that we see here, these kind of rectangles or squares that we see here are effectively a page on our application, and I can see user flows or interactions. I can also highlight traffic volume. So when I spoke earlier about the application we were testing, um, predominantly used for clocking in or punching out for work. So as you can imagine, more people are doing that on a daily basis than booking holidays or searching for employees. So they are two, based off of activity and volume, they are the two most impacted or used or navigated to flows that we see here. So if I had no understanding of the application, I wanted to automate off the back of volume, I could very easily identify those two use cases as critical use cases for me to automate. We can also see different user flows here. I can click into any of these and it will highlight that on the journey map for me as well. And I can also view the test steps involved with any of these test cases. Okay, so we can see here the description that can help us understand what the user was doing. We can see that if we were to create a test case or create this test case, it would create one variable for me and it would create a reusable function. So if this appears in multiple user flows and we turn it into a test case, we are going to reuse that function here, which will help from a maintenance standpoint. And you can see all the test steps that's involved here as well. Okay. When we create these test cases or when we turn these user flows into test cases, you'll notice that these are identical to what you would have seen in Katalon Studio. So let's start to look at that process. Okay, we have a list of user flows here during this time period. If I go to the tabular view here, I can select whichever user flow I wish to automate, and I can generate test cases here. On the right-hand side, it's important to mention as well the traffic, which can help you, which we looked at earlier in the journey map, but we see that here as a column. And we have status as well. So status can help us identify and understand, is this a user flow that we've seen before? Is this something that has just been captured for the first time? Or is this something that we've captured previously and has changed slightly based off of the test steps and interactions? And that will show us impacted here if we see that being displayed. Okay. You'll notice I've turned several of these user flows into test cases already. And with our Git integration, I can then go and open any of these test cases. I can open that Git project in Katalon Studio, and now we can review the test cases that we've generated. To do that, let me just switch over to Katalon Studio. This is one of the projects here that I have. And if I expand on the test cases folder, you'll notice these are the exact same test cases that we saw earlier being displayed in Katalon Studio through our Git integration. If I jump into any of these test cases, we can see the test steps, which is similar to what we would see if we've used record and playback, or we use Truetest in this example. And if I go into our variables tab, what you'll notice is we have the variables created that it mentioned it would create. At this point, for us to make this an executable test case, all we would need to do is start to provide our test data. So to combat security or to address the security and compliance piece as well, we won't collect any sensitive information when we are navigating or when we are tracking those user interactions. And because of that, the last step you will need to do is just update the test data to be rather than being blank or dummy data, depending on your setting. You'll just enter in your test data, and now you have an executable test case ready to go. Okay. And this could have been authored by developers, your testing team. It could have been end users on your application. Now that we're plugging this into the application itself, we're expanding that and potentially looking at this from a production or to a staging environment example as well. Cool. Alex, anything you want to add to that, or if there's any questions in the chat box, we can answer those.
No questions so far. I think we can keep going. You have a lot of goodies to cover.
Cool. At this point, we are now in Studio, so this will lead me to Studio Assist. Obviously, if the test cases have come from Truetest, or they've come from record and playback, or we've created them through Studio Assist, which I'll show you what that looks like in a second, we still start to get all of the benefits that you would be used to. So self-healing, the ability to execute these test cases as part of a test suite, use Katalon runtime engine or schedule them through test ops. You're getting all of the benefits now. So it doesn't matter if it's come from Truetest or come from Record Web, you have all of those features and functionality as it's tied to your project. Okay. To elaborate on that, we also have the ability to create and maintain test cases through Studio Assist. So I'll show you a good bit about Studio Assist today. If I open up another project, for people familiar with Studio Assist, you would be aware that it was originally used where we could ask it natural language prompts or give it prompts, and it could give me very quick, easy to digest answers. Okay, so what is a keyword in Katalon Studio? It would give me that information. In later versions, as Alex touched on, we have also added agent mode here. Agent mode is powered by MCP servers in the background. So if I click on this icon here, by default, we have 3 MCP servers configured. The first that I'll show you is Katalon MCP. This is allowing us to pull back live documentation. So if I was to ask Studio Assist a question today, it would pull back documentation from today. If I ask it in 2 weeks and our team has made changes to the documentation, we're always getting access to the latest and greatest in this case. Okay. It also has access to Katalon Studio MCP. And as you can see here, from all of the different tasks at hand, we have the ability to start to get the objects from our object repository. We can create and update test cases. We can create test suites and so on. So I'll show you some of that in a second. And then finally, we have the built-in test ops MCP connection. So this is potentially pulling back requirements that we've seen earlier. Anything that we've seen earlier, we can pull into Katalon Studio without having to switch context, without having to open up different applications to get all of that information. So simplified, we are giving Katalon Studio Assist access to these internal solutions or these offerings that we see here. So it has that additional context, so I can answer those questions more accurately, integrate with internal solutions, and so on. Okay, so I'll show you a few of these examples now, and we can kind of take it from there. The first that people will be familiar with is the ability to create test cases through Studio Assist. Okay, previously, when we used Studio Assist, it would give me a code snippet. I would copy the code snippet across and then make the changes that I need to. At this point in time, I can put in a prompt like we see here. Get the relevant test objects from my object repository, create me a test case called employee login, and here's the steps that I want to perform. If I run this here, we'll notice that Studio Assist is going to use the Katalon Studio MCP that we mentioned. Oh, apologies. Let me just delete this test case. The chances of having a test case called employee login is pretty high. Let me just make sure there's no previous project. Cool. No test cases. So let's run the same command. Apologies. And what you'll notice that it is going to use the Katalon Studio MCP to get our test objects. Okay. So if there's objects in our object repository, it will be able to pull that information for us. It's going to create the test case. So it's created the test case, and it's going to update our test case script. Okay, I'll just refresh now so we can see the latest version. And let me just close and open this again. Here we have our test steps. Okay, these are tied to actual objects within our object repository. So at this point in time, I actually have an executable test case with the relevant credentials that I've given it. Okay, this is good. People have seen this before, but I just wanted to show now there's no copy and paste across, and we can get that project context, which will certainly save you time if you've collected those objects before. What we can also do is we can also update test cases in bulk. And I've used this with customers where we can add best practices or make changes. So let's say I wanted to add a detailed description to all of my test cases. Okay, we've never actually looked at the descriptions in Katalon Studio. We haven't used that functionality yet. Now we want to start making use of it. I can ask it to add a detailed description. I won't do it to every test case. I'll just do it to one for this demonstration. But I can ask it to go add a detailed description to my test case. It's going to read the test steps and populate a description for me. Okay, so it is now updating my test case. It could update test cases in bulk, as I mentioned. And now if we refresh and go to properties, here's my detailed description. Okay. Other examples of this is maybe we want to start adding comments after all of our test steps. We haven't been putting in comments. We haven't been helping new team members understand their test cases. I can do that in bulk. I can change certain commands. Maybe we're doing system.outprint. Now we want to do web UI comments. Whole host of different examples. But as you can see, if this is done in bulk, it's going to massively save you time. And that could be implementing best practices or maintaining test cases. Before we jump into the MCP server and integrating with external servers, just want to see, Alex, anything you want to add to this, or are we happy to continue on?
Just one thing to make sure that everybody gets it, right? So the major evolution of Studio Assist is that now in agent mode, the agent is actually taking action inside the project, right? So it's not just informing you, it's not just creating stuff and then you have to copy and paste and do work. Now you're just telling the agent what you want to get done. The agent does it directly inside of the project with the context of the different files in the project, the object repository, the test data files, it's everything inside the project. So it's really akin to like a developer using VS Code and in Copilot, where the developers writing or telling Copilot to what they want to build, and then Copilot writing the code for them. Same kind of experience that you're starting to see here in Studio, and it's going to continue evolving. So really exciting release here in the last few weeks. If you haven't checked it out, please do, because it's increasing your productivity, 10x. So this is really good, Lee. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, let's move into an even, I don't want to say even more exciting part, but certainly from speaking with other customers, and this is really exciting from what we've seen. So if I jump into agent mode and into our configuration, we also have the ability to add remote MCP servers. Okay. In the example that I will show you guys today, we've configured Atlassian. Okay. So that means that I can potentially go and pull back Confluence pages. I can, when we looked at our Jira user stories, for example, I can go and pull back user stories that are assigned to me. I can take the acceptance criteria, create test cases against them, and we'll show you how we can do all of this in Studio Assist. Okay. So I've configured, just prior to the call, I've configured Atlassian, and all I needed to do was enter in the server URL, select the transport type, click OK once I've populated the name, and then I will authenticate. Okay, and the authentication piece is just so that it knows it's Lee Walsh when I try run some of these commands. So when I say I want to pull back user stories assigned to me, it knows who I am, but it also makes sure that I don't have access to information within Atlassian that I shouldn't have access to. Okay, so important to know that that authentication piece is happening. And once we have configured Atlassian, you'll notice that we have the ability to get current user information, the ability to get Confluence pages, to create Confluence pages, to raise issues, to pull back stories, and so on. And we'll show some of these as an example. The first example will be quite basic. Let's try pull back a Confluence page. It won't be the most exciting example, but it certainly will show you the benefit of being able to interact through the same UI and pull back this information. So let's get a Confluence page. This is the Katalon Confluence or our Atlassian. So let me try find a page that's related to Safari Windows. We don't need to know that document for now, but let's just go and see if we can pull this back. So it is going to use, oh, and just before I mention, on the first time you configure it, you have the option to allow this once, allow the entire conversation, or always allow this here. I'll just allow this conversation for demo purposes. But once I've done that, it will, let's just reconfigure. Maybe 1 second. Jump back here. Clear conversation. Apologies.
It wouldn't be a demo if this doesn't happen. That's real life.
Yeah, there you go. Now you know we are love. Cool. So we are going to run the same command. It is going to ask for permission because I only allowed the conversation previously. And now it is searching Confluence to find any pages that relate to Safari Windows. And think of this, it's found one here for us. So I can click this link, it will bring me into our Confluence. But for you, this might be, hey, we have a certain issue. How do we handle automating a certain part of our application? What should we be using as our default locators? What internal documentation do we have that helps us with our day-to-day tasks? We can easily get that information, but not only can we easily get that information, Studio Assist can easily understand that information and provide guidance here as well. Okay, so pretty straightforward example that we see here. We'll obviously take it much further, but just wanted to show you, first of all, we're pulling back information from our Atlassian configuration. And now let's go to that example that I mentioned earlier. Let's list all current Jira stories, or list all Jira stories in the latest sprint that are assigned to me. Let's pretend I want to start automating some of these stories that have been assigned to me. So rather than me going and searching and trying to find that information, I can pull all of the context here and then start to automate against it in Studio if I wish. The first thing it is doing is finding who I am. Okay, so it's Lee Walsh. It's going to check the resources and it's searching Jira. And here we go. It's found one user story for me. So if we remember back in earlier part of the demo, there was a whole host of different user stories related to that Orange HRM application. Here's one of them, view timesheet. And I don't need to just get the title. I can actually do a lot more depending on the prompt that I'm giving it. But we'll take it just maybe 1 or 2 steps further as people start to understand the idea here. Let's go and say, let's read the acceptance criteria from this story and create a BDD feature file for me. Okay, now we're really starting to see the time savings once I execute this, because normally we would have to rewrite the acceptance criteria manually into Gherkin, which involves copying and validating all steps. And you can see here, if I just allow this conversation, it will do this in a matter of seconds for me. So getting the Jira item that we've listed, it is, and again, apologies, sometimes the conversation gets too, let me just come in here. Let's allow this conversation. And I can actually go, so here's the feature file. We can ask Studio to go and create this for me. It will create that file for me. And once it's created that file for me, what I can actually go and do is, the last thing missing from this file would be step definitions. I can take it even further and start to ask it to create my step definitions for me. Okay. Full transparency, when we do the step definitions piece, we might need to update that file slightly. Okay. But you can see the time savings on the effort savings we're getting from being able to just put prompts into Studio Assist and let Studio Assist handle that task at hand. Okay. And that's what I wanted to show you guys today. It's not just related to Atlassian. That's just the example that we've used today. So on the Katalon documentation, we have a whole host of different examples that we can share with you guys. So I do recommend you going and having a look at this. But extremely powerful feature that is available in later releases of Katalon Studio, and certainly something a lot of our customers are getting really excited about. Alex, anything you want to add? The last thing I want to show is just the advanced reporting. It'll probably take 2 minutes. So anything you want to add before we look at the reporting agent in test ops?
Just one last thing is, I hope, everybody is understanding the magnitude of this, right? The examples that Lee's showing is just, what we had time to show, but with MCP, behind Catalan Studio and the other tools in the SDLC, like Jira or Atlassian, right? Um, Anything is possible. So whatever use case you think from inside of Studio, the agent in Studio Assist, it can talk to the other MCP servers in the other, in the other tools. So now the possibilities are endless, right? I hope that that is coming across very clearly, because this is really game changing. It as a person doing test automation inside of Studio, you have an entire world to that you can access through the agent, and optimize and bring more efficiency to your work. So this is really, really cool. If you, again, if I will say it again, if you haven't tried this out yet, please do. If you need assistance, if you need help, if you need, to just have a conversation with one of our team members, just let us know, reach out to us, and we will be happy to jump on a call and kind of take you through that process, and kind of watch it over your shoulders, or as you're doing it, make sure you're confident. Anything you need.
Perfect. So last piece I'll cover, I know we've demonstrated quite a lot in a short space of time. So this lab piece will be easy to digest, and then we'll take it to questions if there is any. Um, for people familiar with the reporting piece within test ops, you obviously have the analytics and trends, the live monitor, and the release health. So release health can be seeing how we're doing against particular sprints or releases. I can set my criteria against some of these items here and start to track that information. But from an AI, I'm sorry, and all of these are customizable as well. So the analytics and trends dashboard here, if I have the right permissions, I can start to move these widgets around, add additional reports as widgets to this dashboard. So I can really customize this and make this as detailed as I need to be, or as simplified as I need to have it as well. Okay. And any of the reports that we see here can be added as a widget to the dashboard. But from an AI perspective, we have heard that, hey, there's quite a lot of information here, especially if we're looking at executions over the course of a month and we have thousands of executions running across this application. There's quite a lot of information for me to dive into. Now, yes, we have the ability to filter, and filtering allows me to go from potentially thousands of test cases down to maybe hundreds, down to one particular issue, and I can start to troubleshoot. Okay. But as there is quite a lot of information in here, we also have AI briefing here. Okay. So I can ask our reporting agent to summarize this information for me. And not only will it summarize this information, but it will also review performance in this last interval to previous intervals as well. Okay. So you can see here we have key results and trends, risks and red flags, and we also have focus for next period. Okay. And all of this here, any of the information that's provided, it will tell us why it's giving us that information. So for example, if I look at a particular risk here and click on this, it's telling me, hey, we're pulling this information from the defects activity trend, and it highlights that for me. Okay. So this is just another way for you to easily understand the information that you see here, potentially spot gaps and trends over particular intervals. Okay. So how are we tracking month to month? That could be difficult to identify as you navigate through the dashboards. AI briefing will certainly allow you to accelerate that process in understanding and help you identify those gaps and trends as well. Okay. And that's really the last piece I wanted to show you guys from the AI feature perspective here. Tons of value when we have all of our results, whether it's manual testing or automated testing, when we're executing it at scale and the results are going to test ops, huge amount of value that we can get from these graphs and these widgets here. AI briefing is just helping us understand that quicker than ever as well. Cool. That is, I know we've gone through quite a lot, but that is everything I wanted to cover from a demo perspective. I think at this point, we'll see if there's any questions, and then we can go through the last 2 slides, which will probably bring us to time.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. I hope everybody's is seeing how the Katalon platform is now able to help you from requirements all the way to production and look at quality from both those angles, from left to right and from right to left. And I hope that you've also realized that in every single testing activity, and now you're able to use AI inside of the Katalon platform to accelerate your work, to help you be more productive and actually be more thorough in your quality efforts. And lastly, hopefully you're seeing how we are really doubling down on investing in building further capabilities that are agentic in nature. That is something that not only is a trend in the market, but our customers, our direct customers, have been asking for that themselves, because they are being told and mandated by their leadership to really go all in on AI. So hopefully this is giving you a good overview on how the Catalan platform has transformed into that agentic platform for testing. And if you're not leveraging any of these capabilities with your clients, please reach out so that we can help you and enable you and make sure that you have the latest and greatest so that you can better serve your customers. Um, in terms of next steps, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. But in terms of next steps, take a look again at we're going to send out the recording. So take a look at those new capabilities, discuss any opportunities to leverage those capabilities with your partner account manager here at Catalan. Feel free to reach out to them. They're here for you. There's also a lot of free certification opportunities in the Catalan Academy that you can and should take a look at so that you can become certified in all of those amazing AI capabilities we saw today. And if you would like to have a deeper dive into any of the areas of our platform that you saw today, feel free and please do reach out to us so that we can, kind of do a more intimate, in a more intimate setting, do a much deeper dive into those individual capabilities and bring the use cases that you have in mind. Maybe we haven't touched on certain use cases, but you have certain challenges that you have to address for your clients that you're interested in saying, hey, is there anything in the platform that can help me with this specific challenge? So please bring those to us. We're happy to work with you and make sure you have a full enablement in order to deliver to your customers. I think one last thing in the Katalon Academy, we have introduced the AI Skilled Practitioner certification. So this is a specific certification that focuses on the AI capabilities, in very specifically in Studio. So that you can, if you already dominate Studio, you love it, your clients are, taking advantage of all the automation goodness that you're delivering. Now imagine you're able to do that with AI and achieve even higher value or unlock even higher value for your clients. So through this certification, you're going to be taken through that learning path and make sure that you fully unlock that AI potential inside of Studio as part of your engagements with your clients. So this is something available to you free of cost in the Katalon Academy as well. With that, thank you very much, Antoine. I don't know if you have any parting words, but I really want to thank the audience and Lee for the participation and the great demonstration. I know you, Lee, I know you covered a lot, man, and in such a short amount of time. So thank you for being able to do that. I know it was challenging, and thank you the audience for the participation, and look forward to helping everyone.
Absolutely. And as a last word, the recording will be sent out for everyone to review. And by the way, some of these features you might already have access to. You might not need any additional license, anything at all. So, please take it a look, give it a try, explore that out. It's been helping quite many other users, and I'm hoping that it can help you too. Thank you everyone for taking the time and attend today's sessions, and looking forward to do more with you together.